Right now on Hoosier News Source, we have a member from the Graduate Worker Coalition in studio to discuss the ongoing grad student strike and learn more about IU's new Climate Action Committee.
And I have a closer look at tonight's rain as well as an outlook for the Little 500 race this Saturday. Hoosier News Source starts now.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier News Source. I'm Olivia Oliver. Graduate student workers have been on strike for a week, and yesterday they voted to continue the strike for another week. Here with the latest is HNS reporter Ashton Hackman. Ashton?
Thanks, Olivia. Graduate student workers at the picket lines last week say that it is up to the administration to determine when the strike will end. For now, though, it does not seem like that will be anytime soon.
Who's got the power? We got the power! What kind of power? Union power!
This week, graduate student workers are continuing to strike, shouting chants, trying to get the attention of the administration.
The ball is in the administration's court. We're hoping that this strike ends as soon as possible. We don't want to strike. We don't want to be out here picketing.
The administration has threatened termination of appointment, but graduate student workers say they are not intimidated.
At other institutions where there have been graduate student workers who are coming together, forming a union, the administration at those institutions have threatened them. They've threatened them with suspensions, removal from positions. It's not happened, or if it has happened, they've been reinstituted.
Many graduate student workers say their undergraduate students have been mostly in support of the union.
I think from what I've seen, most students who are aware have been generally supportive. There are students who have been less aware or less engaged, but I haven't seen a lot of pushback from any students against the union.
The union plans to continue the strike until next week with the potential for more support.
A lot of people who couldn't be here, who weren't aware of the strike or at least aware of the picketing, are going to be aware for next week, so they're going to come next week out strong.
Who's got the power? We got the power!
We will continue to follow the graduate student workers strike as it occurs on campus. Tune in next week to hear the story of Musa Hassan, a graduate student worker who says the cost of fees caused him to not have dental care. And joining me now to talk more about the strike is Graduate Worker Coalition Media School representative and IU graduate student Colt Nelson. Colt, thank you so much for being here tonight. First off, what do you think has been the driving force getting people out to the picket lines?
I think at this point we've been organizing as the Indiana Graduate Workers Coalition now for 2.5 years. We have a very deep and thorough basis amongst graduate students and graduate workers. So I think that presence, the consistency of focus on the issues that graduate workers face on a regular basis has compelled hundreds of us out to the picket lines at this point.
Grad workers have voted to continue the strike into the next week. How long do you think we can expect this strike to last? Will it go to the end of the school year? Or?
I would actually pose that question to the provost himself. I think that's an important question for the provost to answer, and the ball is in his court ultimately to determine how long the strike lasts.
In an effort to potentially avert a strike a few weeks back, they did offer grad students a 5% raise. Was that enough in your eyes? Did you want more? What was your thought on that?
Yeah, I would point out two things about the 5% raise. One, that lifts graduate worker stipends from well below the cost of living in Monroe County to just below the cost of living in Monroe County. So it's still, even accounting for the raises, an insufficient stipend in order to get by in Bloomington and in Monroe County. And secondly, the raises don't address one of our primary concerns, which is we do not have union recognition. We do not have a means of consistently and perpetually addressing our concerns to the administration in a way that makes us decision makers with concerns to our working conditions. So the fact that the raises do not allow for that form of participation in decision making is something that deeply frustrates myself as well as the Indiana Grad Workers Coalition.
The university and the administration has not been shy in, basically threatening the grad students. They were talking about termination of appointment or suspending people from their positions. Has that had an impact at all at driving people away from the picket lines, or has it not affected anyone?
Quite the contrary. It's actually grown support. The fact that the university now is giving us the carrot and the stick responses to our strike and our union efforts has grown the fury among graduate workers, among faculty, among undergraduate students, and among community members. We've also been seeing much more national attention as well since the provost has made explicit threats to terminate appointments for graduate workers. So I think despite their best intentions, we've seen the strike grow because of that.
You mentioned faculty support, and I actually want to talk about that. The provost sent out an email a few weeks back saying, quote, although we may sympathize, this was to faculty, by the way, although we may sympathize with the spirit of these actions, or we may agree that there are remaining underlying substantive issues that need to be addressed, we cannot stay neutral in this moment. So despite the email, faculty members being told that they cannot remain neutral on the grad strike, has that impacted the support you've seen at all?
I think my previous answer kind of holds true to this as well. Due to the explicit articulations the provost is making towards faculty, it's become apparent to many faculty members that what the provost is trying to do with emails like this is split faculty support from graduate worker efforts. Because of that, that has angered many faculty across the campus and pushed them away from the provost and away from the central administration. And with that, we have been seeing consistent faculty support on the picket lines with each passing day. And I would also just point out that in this instance, Provost Shrivastov is quite right, in my opinion, in that this is not a matter to remain neutral about. And in fact, it is important that we have the support of faculty members in this moment in order to receive union recognition.
Another part of campus that is affected by the strike is, of course, undergraduate students. What has the support from them been like?
The support has been overwhelmingly positive. We had an undergrad walkout organized last week on Thursday with over 300 undergraduate students walking out of classes that were actively in process at the time to join us on the picket line. And many undergraduates have been taking to the mic, taking to the megaphones, offering their testimonies, speaking to the strengths and the necessities of both the strike and the union effort. We also held a press conference yesterday where many undergraduate students here at IU spoke of the necessity of a union for graduate workers and how that would positively benefit their education as well.
As you said, we don't know how long the strike will go on. I want to give you a chance to address people graduate students, who may be a little bit concerned about going on strike, but potentially want to go. What would you say to them to get them to come out and support?
I would firstly say, in all my time here at IU, being on the picket line has been the most fun, energizing experience that I've had, because I get to be surrounded by fellow graduate workers, undergraduate students, faculty members who have been expressly supportive. So it's been a really wonderful experience for me, and I know for many others. We also have immense, overwhelming support for the union efforts and for the strike, with now over 1,000 graduate workers pledged participation in the strike efforts, with nearly 500 faculty members pledging neutrality, with several $1,000s in support for our strike fund. So the numbers and the support at this point is heartening, is incredible, is just overwhelming, and I think from those sheer numbers alone, anybody who is having hesitations should feel comfortable and should absolutely feel welcome joining us on the picket lines.
Cole, thank you so much for coming in, and I appreciate your time once again. Olivia, back to you.
Thanks, Ashton. IU announced that they will be implementing a Climate Action Planning Committee made up of 20 students, faculty, and staff. University President Pamela Whitten guided the formation of the committee in order to create short and long-term goals to address IU's emissions. The group will work to come up with comprehensive recommendations for the university. This committee also comes after members of Students for a New Green World have been protesting IU's lack of climate action plan for almost 3 months. Despite working with administration over recent weeks to improve IU's impact on the climate, no members of SNGW were asked to join the Climate Action Planning Committee. Mia Keller now joins us with the latest on this week's weather forecast. Mia?
Thanks, Olivia. Monday night, we had graupel fall in Bloomington yet again. This picture, taken from one of our viewers, shows the small ice pellets impacting elevated surfaces during the evening hours. Now, let's take a look at our incoming rain on Wednesday. As we get closer to the evening hours today, rain showers are expected to arrive in Bloomington ahead of the approaching warm front. We could see rain totals as high as ½ an inch. Thankfully, the showers will move out of the area by tomorrow morning. Let's take a look at the rest of the week. After the showers today and tomorrow, we can expect the region to warm up just in time for the Little 500. While some uncertainty in the forecast remains for the weekend in terms of precipitation, we are fairly confident that Saturday and Sunday morning will remain dry before a cold front pushes in Sunday evening. We can expect to enter next week with some rain and temperatures in the lower 60s. Let's take a closer look at Saturday for the Little 500 forecast. The Little 500 will be fairly pleasant this year with sunshine and scattered clouds. Temperatures will increase by 12 degrees between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. The day will also start out very humid and gradually decrease throughout the day. Racers won't have to worry about wind impacting the race, as only a gentle breeze will come through the area during the event. Enjoy Little 500 and have an awesome week. Olivia, back to you.
Thanks, Mia. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and IU has hosted several events this month to raise awareness. These events included informational activities and a documentary screening, and signs and displays around campus advocated for awareness and prevention, reading #IUSAAM for IU Sexual Assault Awareness Month. This all comes as the IU Bloomington campus sees 54 reported sexual assaults, with only 2 of those cases resulting in charges filed. HNS reporter Jack Linder now joins us with the latest on international news from around the world. Jack?
Thanks, Olivia. We begin tonight with the latest updates on the war in Ukraine. The fight for the Ukrainian city of Mariupol continues this week as Ukrainian troops defend against Russian troops inside the Azovstal plant. Ukraine refused the Russian military's earlier ultimatum to surrender the city and have continued to stand their ground. The Russian military warned Ukraine that anyone still in Mariupol after the Sunday deadline would be, quote, filtered out, and any other forms of resistance will, quote, be eliminated. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky calls the situation very difficult since it's unclear how many Ukrainian citizens have been killed in the invasion. Meanwhile, in the Ukrainian city of Lviv, 7 people have been killed after 4 Russian missile strikes hit the city early Monday morning. 11 other civilians, including 1 child, were hurt in the attacks. The U.S. State Department criticized the attack and stated that Russia is, quote, undertaking a campaign of terror against Ukrainian citizens. Prior to the strike, Russian attacks had left Lviv relatively unaffected, and it was often considered a safe space for refugees. Lviv Mayor Andriy Sadovyi said that this assault is a reminder to Ukrainian refugees that there are no safe spaces within the country. And finally, over in Asia, the North Korean military conducted 2 projectile missile tests Saturday night. The military fired the projectiles into the Korean peninsula while the country's leader Kim Jong-un watched nearby. A North Korean newspaper published on Sunday called the projectiles, quote, a new tactile weapon, while also showcasing images of Kim Jong-un clapping as he watched the launch. South Korean officials met shortly after the launch to discuss the test and determine whether or not they should take countermeasures. This now marks the 12th weapons test from North Korea so far this year. And that's what's going on around the world this week. Olivia, back to you.
Thanks, Jack, and thank you for watching this week's episode of Hoosier News Source. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV News. I'm Olivia Oliver from Bloomington, Indiana. We'll see you next week.